I think a lot of the analysis you've made, Justice, about the Kibuloy situation are bearing fruit. The ICC has not yet happened, so marami pa rin nagtatroll sa atin. But there have been a couple of developments on ICC. For instance, I think Bato has
Mm.
admitted na tinatawag na siya. ICC is calling for new witnesses. So it didn't exactly happen on this day, but I think we're moving in that direction soon. Medyo nagpapanik na si Pebbles. But before that, can we talk about etong nag-Garma na ba? Nag-Garma na ba sila Duterte? How important is the Garma expose? Another Davaoenyo, former Davao policewoman, Colonel Garma ba? How important is the Quadcom hearing and the exposés, Justice?
Well, I think it's very, very important. It's very explosive because it establishes the creation of the uh, extrajudicial killing group headed by Leonardo, of course. No, and it comes from a very credible source because she was very close to the president, and she even was the one who recruited Leonardo. So it, what's important that it establishes that the it was the president who set up this group that engaged in extrajudicial killing, uh, coming from the person who recruited the head of that group. So very credible.
Very credible. No, I mean, speaking of how close to the president, former lover ba, sabi ni Dan Fernandez, I think Congressman Fernandez is very particular about certain angles, no, the personal ties. Ano bang alam mo, Justice? Sorry, ginawa kitang marites. So, former
well,
lover, oh, may anak ba sila ni Digong?
well, I really don't know, but everybody's saying she's close. Even recently, Albayalde, PNP chief Albayalde, said yes, she's very close to the president, and the fact that she was appointed head of PCSO, and she could bring people to the president, her own classmates. So, and she has a lot of stories about the president. So I think uh, her credentials are quite strong.
Yeah, yun nga. The reason I was asking that is, of course, I didn't want, I mean, joke lang yung marites, but if they were really intimate through and through, she should have been privy to a lot of exchanges. I mean, Duterte is a nocturnal guy like me, right? So I'm sure he made many calls at night, I don't know, by the bedside, whatever. So, hindi lang ex-police woman itong tao na I'm sure has been in the loop, no? In terms of how Duterte runs. Essentially, his algorithm of deadly populism and governance.
Yeah, and what she said is has been told also by other people, especially the mayors, because the mayors, local mayors, knew about this reward system because, of course, the police would tell them. So I think there will be a lot of corroboration here. No, a lot of witnesses will come out to say yes, there was a reward system.
Speaking of corroboration, I mean, isa pang nasangkot dito sa expose ni Garma is si Bongo, no? At I find it interesting because both Bongo and Bato are suddenly claiming na, ay wala, hindi naman kami importante, hindi naman kami kasama, hindi naman kami in the loop. I mean, of course, Bato, during the Kervin Espinosa, in response to the Kervin Espinosa expose na fake lahat yung mga cases against, the Lima, etc. At some point sinabi ni Bato na hindi na wala naman siyang alam diyan, it's the DOJ, except there's a video of Bato checking exactly what Kervin is reading from the notes. So talagang obvious na obvious siya. But Bongo is also interesting. Bongo is saying wala akong kinalaman sa drug war. I'm just, assistant on, I don't know, other national affairs, which I find very I mean, I'm quite incredulous because he's supposed to be the chief assistant of the president, and there's nothing more central to the president's policy agenda than his drug war. So to what degree are these exposés in Quadcom exposing etong mga henchmen, etong mga alalay, I'm sorry, mga consigliere at saka mga lieutenants of Duterte?
Well, in the case of Bato, his fingerprint is there because he was the one who signed the Operation Tokhang circular. I mean, how can he say he doesn't know anything? Because in that Operation Tokhang Circular, he said they will neutralize these drug pushers. Neutralize a term used by uh, in the military and the police. That means to kill. I mean, that's the only meaning of neutralize. And in fact, that's exactly what happened. Now he's saying he has nothing to do, but he signed the he issued the circular. In the case of Bongo, well, we all know that the president used Bongo to give out communications, to send messages. So if this is corroborated by so many people that they have to go through Bongo if they want a meeting with the president, or if the president's sending a message, it's Bongo who delivers the message. So, I mean, if the president, if something like this that requires a lot of secrecy, of course, it has to be coursed through Bongo because he was the most trusted uh, assistant of former President Duterte.
Consigliere, to put it in the Godfather way of putting it. I mean, of course, at the back of my head is the RICO law in the US, how they try to establish the chain of command and all of things like that. From a legal standpoint, Justice, how do you establish the complicity or culpability of Rodrigo Duterte or Bongo for that matter, who were not directly involved in the PNP operations? If I mean, tama yung sinabi niyo, Justice, na at least kay Bato, may signature talaga PNP chief eh. But ito yung sinasabi ni Harry Roque parati na, that the commander-in-chief cannot be held accountable for the misdeeds of his alter egos. Yung mga charot niyang line na ganun. From a legal standpoint, what is the command responsibility on the part of Duterte? Even if wala kang mahanap na, I don't know, smoking gun, if I can say it, na may signature si Digong or Bongo na etong gagawin nyo sa drug war nyo.
Well, evidence can be both documentary and testimonial, and this is testimonial evidence. The testimony of Garma, uh, and because she's a credible person, because she was there inside, an insider. I mean that her testimony has a lot of credibility. So you don't have to look for a smoking gun like he signed the death warrant or he signed an instruction, because the instruction is normally given verbally or even in codes. No.
Um, Thank you for clarifying that. Now, speaking of Garma, um, check. Grabe itong mga nangyari over the past few months. Just when we thought Alice Go will be the ultimate witness to bring down bad people, now we have even something juicier, right? Someone very close to the former president, someone who knows about things. Now, obviously, Garma's testimony was questioned from one angle in particular, which is parang wala siyang ginawang masama, parang biktima lang siya. To what degree does her palusot put into question the veracity or the robustness of her testimony? Or should it even matter that she's trying to obviously get herself scot-free?
Well, there will be other people who will testify as to what exactly she did, and that will put into context what she said. That, but she admitted a lot already when she said that the president called him early in the morning to and instructed him to look for a Iglesia ni Cristo uh, PNP officer, and he in fact recruited the top guy, the you can call Leonardo the chief operating officer. So uh, the credentials are there. No? She might have minimized her role, but that's normal for a person who's also part of the conspiracy.
So if Duterte is the CEO and then si Leonardo is COO, ano si Bonga at saka si Bato? Ano yung Vice President for Operations and Logistics or ano ba? I mean, to use the
Well,
corporate
Bongo
line,
definitely is uh, the handle the communications because he was delivering messages. But
Vice
there's
President
also
for Communications.
testimony that he had his own death squad. No, so this is not yet over. There will be more revelations.
Before I go to the politics of this, kasi of course, both Bongo and Bato are, well, desperately trying to get reelected. And ibang usapan na if that could give them any immunity. But what about the question now that the Quadcom evidence should, at least in theory, reinforce the ICC case? And yet you have, this is your former colleague, right? The current executive secretary saying that they're not going to cooperate with ICC on this matter in terms of passing down information or evidence gathered by the Quadcom regarding the drug war and the mass atrocities.
Well, the Quadcom hearings are public, televised, and anybody can get hold uh, of the recording. And any of those congressmen present there can say this is the correct copy of the recording. I was there. This is what these people said. So it can be verified as authentic.
So ano lang yun, hanash lang nila yan in a sense. Oh, hindi kami mag-cooperate sa ICC, but well, ICC, you're more than welcome to use everything we're giving you here, diba? I mean, it could be also submitted as,
Yeah.
corroborating evidence, everything, right?
The way I look at it, there will come a time when uh, there will be an avalanche of revelations that Malacanang will be forced to say, okay, let's give this all to ICC. And remember, they want also to politically cripple the Dutertes. Uh, it's just so happened that they have the uh, testimonial evidence now. They have people now singing. So of course, if that's your objective is to politically cripple, you can submit these testimonies to ICC.
I don't know if this is an appropriate metaphor. It's like parang hinihimas yung baboy bagong katayin. Is that what's happened? I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know if it's appropriate, baka animal rights abuse. But
Yeah,
like hinihimas mo to get it ready for the ultimate, for the
yeah.
hammer to come down. Is that the situation now, honestly?
I think the situation is that they're trying to get whatever they can get and just deliver this. I mean, at the end of the day, even if they don't deliver it, it's available to the ICC. And there's now no stopping any of those Quadco members testifying before the ICC.
Right. So obviously there's the politics of this, there's also the legal politics in a sense that it makes it talagang almost untenable for these people not to face any accountability, and legally all the evidence is out there. So in short, irrelevant yung sinasabi ng former colleague niya sa Supreme Court, right? Parang hanash lang 'yan, di ba?
Well, what he's saying is maybe what he's saying is there are many ways of skinning a cat. I mean, we don't have to officially, but my hunch is at the end of the day, they might cooperate.
So let's lay down the scenario here. This is scenario building again, yung mga nagbabash sa atin. It's not prediction, it's a scenario building. So let's say, what is the most likely situation here? Now, this Quadcom hearings will really culminate in like as you said, Justice, an avalanche of testimonies, exposés, and witnesses. And then ICC will eventually issue something, right? Whether it's red notice or blue notice via the Interpol, among other things. So ang mangyayari ba dito is they're gonna how's that? So mauna pa yung Philippine courts eventually? I mean, from Quadcom, is it eventually gonna go to courts in Philippine courts? And then sasabihin ng Marcos, no, we want our local courts to take. Parang ginagawa nila kay Kiboloy, di ba? Like, it's not that we don't want to cooperate with the FBI, but we want our courts to take a first crack first. Is that going to be a similar situation potentially, Justice?
Well, the DOJ already said that they're waiting for the final report of the Quadcom, and they will use that uh, as a basis for starting a criminal investigation. So uh, they're going in that direction. Uh, so the issue is if they're really serious with that, will the ICC back off now? But there is a principle in law that once a court acquires jurisdiction, that jurisdiction continues, and the ICC already acquired jurisdiction, and that jurisdiction will continue. That's the principle. They will not divest themselves of the jurisdiction that they have already acquired. But they can also, out of deference, allow the Philippine authorities to continue if they believe that there is an earnest effort in the investigation.
Yun nga, this is where you can suddenly make the complementarity argument work, no, in the sense that there's no need for ICC to come in. I mean, domestic institutions are finally doing their job, you know. So, of course, I agree with you, Justice, that in if you look at the past 8 years, not much has been done. But if finally something is being done, so it makes sense for ICC to say, okay, mukhang finally ginagawa nyo ng trabaho nyo, ayoko makialam dito, but we're just here over the horizon just in case. Is that something you're implying
Well,
here?
that's a possibility. It's up to them if they now believe that there's sincere and earnest effort on the part of the Philippine government. Uh, but it depends on how the DOJ will conduct its investigation.
This is this is gonna be crazy. It's gonna be like court shopping and like, oh my god. And all of this just is gonna coincide with the midterm elections, right? I mean, it's gonna be quite a carnivalesque situation.
Yeah, this will all happen while the campaign is going on. And you can see already the effect because Bato now is going down in the ranking.
And even Bongo, right? He's not doing as well
Yes.
as